The return of my Coin Lady channel brings me much joy. Major XRP news update. Today, we have a lot of exciting things to discuss. The economy has recently received some significant updates about CPI and PPI inflation data, as well as some remarks made by Donald Trump. It is imperative that we thoroughly review these words, as they will profoundly impact our cryptocurrencies overall. In particular, what he said about XRP is likely to have a far greater effect on the market as a whole. Therefore, I must remain until the very finish of this video to witness it. However, before we get into that, let's discuss this stuff. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, and the Producer Price Index, PPI, are two crucial indicators that help us predict market movements. For the simple reason that when the economy is doing well, cryptocurrency has a field day. Keeping that in mind, we simply wish to discuss this matter, since the Federal Reserve's gravest fear has materialized. Several indicators of inflation are on the rise, and the labor market is showing signs of weakness. And officially, inflation is on the rise for the first time since September of 2022, according to both the CPI and the PPI. Core PPI and CPI inflation are back above 3% for the first time since April 2023, as we can see here. Okay, so here we are again after a whole year of great metrics and statistics, and things are starting to seem unusual. But you can see for yourself that the metrics have been going up for the past few months. If you're wondering why, the answer is actually rather straightforward. That will be covered shortly. Take a look at this according to the COVID OC letter. This provides some insight into the continued upward trend in prices over the past decade, despite the fact that the Federal Reserve has lowered interest rates by 75 basis points, including an unexpected 50 basis points decrease in September, and rates are still on the rise. Many people think that next week, mortgage rates will be about 8%. Put simply, the Federal Reserve is reducing interest rates. Outside of the Federal Reserve, however, you can find institutions that are willing to lend money in the form of mortgages, auto loans, and nearly every other kind of debt imaginable. These banks can't practically provide lower interest rates until their ridiculously high quantity of unrealized losses goes down. Temporary assistance programs are visible to us at this time. The number of jobs has dropped by 145,800 in the past year, reaching its lowest point since October of 2020. The unemployment rate and the availability of short-term medical care are both predicted by this. Again, this is worrisome news. The employment market has been contracting for 23 months running, the longest such period since 2008. But before we get into it, let's speak about the US budget deficit. The US is currently spending too much money, and it needs to stop. And when I show you the numbers, you'll see why, and you'll also see why people are putting their money into Bitcoin. The US budget deficit increased by a massive $257 billion in October, and now everything will start to make sense. The United States budget deficit, in contrast, was $67 billion in October of last year, an increase of 287% from the previous year. To give some context, experts had predicted a deficit of $73 billion for the month of October. This results in a budget deficit that is 252% larger than the one that economists had anticipated. Taking on 250% more debt per month than anticipated would lead to bankruptcy for a publicly traded corporation. They expressed it perfectly. Incredibly accurate. Out of all the top 100 companies, the US government is the only one that routinely mismanages its finances. That is a public entity, and I hope you all remember that. They're using our tax cash in an outrageous way while still serving the people. To that end, I have a question for you. Would you put your faith in a government that regularly spends more than 250% more than revenues? No way. You have no intention of entrusting them with your hard-earned cash. For a business that routinely spends 250% more than it has on hand, where does one put their money? Not at all. The corporation in question will file for bankruptcy tomorrow. You're obviously not going to invest in such businesses. I don't see why we continue to hand over our hard-earned cash to a government that wastes money, ignores our concerns, and systematically screws us over with inflation. The surprise answer is that we shouldn't trust them, and more importantly, that we will no longer believe them. This likely contributed to Donald Trump's victory. The most likely thing would be to hedge, and my sincere wish is that we will address this issue and reduce the debt within the next 4 years. If we are successful, the following 4 years will bring tremendous economic growth. I think that's a major cause for alarm. However, I am counting on you to stay, because I can see a future for us. In the past day, the volume of the top Bitcoin ETF topped $7.4 billion. You all need to get a life. We never expected to see the insane volume that has been flowing through cryptocurrencies recently, certainly before the end of 2024. And what we're seeing here are educated investors and clever investors. Alright, they notice. The United States government is failing miserably. In what ways? Are there any other systems where we can invest our money? Bitcoin, XRP, equities, etc. are all reaching new heights, while the government deficit is growing daily. That is something to have in mind. Additionally, regarding the topic of an efficiently run economy and its implications for XRP, the crypto market as a whole, Elon Musk has formally established a Doge Twitter account for the Department of Government Efficiency, which has been verified as a government body. That being said, it is indeed happening. As far as Dogecoin holders are concerned, it is indeed happening. This will be done by Elon Musk. Well, I suppose we could say it this way, shall we? In my opinion, this is a crucial point. We can see that a publicly traded corporation would go bankrupt if it took on 250% more debt each month than anticipated. That being said, who is more effective? Someone with 4 successful enterprises worth billions of dollars would be the ideal candidate to oversee government expenditures and concentrate on making the government more efficient. Okay, let's be honest. In my opinion, Elon Musk is the best person to do it. Consequently, if Elon Musk can replicate his success with private enterprises for the US government, things will be looking up. In the next 4 years, the national debt of the US will nearly disappear. Somebody's going to confront it. Of course, we can't eliminate the dead 4 years entirely, but at least some of it will decrease rather than increase, which is great news. Many more crypto enterprises, businesses, and tech-based companies will return to the United States as a result of the extremely cheap interest rates and the economically flourishing climate that would ensue. More manufacturing will be done in the United States. The United States will retain all of that wealth rather than sending it elsewhere to support cheap child labor, something I strongly disagree with. It will be beneficial, I assure you. My video would not have been seen without you. When you're done, hit that subscribe button and let me know what you think.